Have you ever wondered about the mysteries buried beneath the earth for thousands of years? What if one of the greatest civilizations known to man remained hidden, only to be discovered by accident? The story begins in 1827 with a British soldier named James Lewis. Fed up with the East India Company, he deserted the army and decided to travel across the Indian subcontinent under a new name, pursuing his passion for discovery. After 2 years of wandering, he reached the Punjab region in 1829, where fate led him to stumble upon the ruins of an ancient city. He had no idea just how monumental his find was. Lewis, a history enthusiast at heart, began documenting what he saw: sketches of the crumbling stone walls, fragments of structures, and inscriptions that made no sense to him. Little did he know, he had rediscovered the ancient city of Harappa, the heart of the Indus Valley Civilization, one of the oldest and most mysterious civilizations ever to exist. But the world wouldn't fully grasp the magnitude of his discovery until a century later, in the 1920s, when more in-depth excavations began under the leadership of John Marshall, the director of the Archaeological Survey of India. It was then confirmed. These ruins belonged to a civilization more than 5,000 years old. Yet, despite all we've learned about this advanced society, two key mysteries still baffle scholars: their undeciphered script and the abrupt end of their flourishing culture. Let's take a step back and explore what we do know. The Indus Valley Civilization, a Bronze Age marvel, spanned modern-day Pakistan, Afghanistan, and northwest India. To date, more than 1,400 archaeological sites have been unearthed, with about 900 of them lying within India. In terms of ancient civilizations, the Indus Valley Civilization stood alongside the Egyptians, Mesopotamians, and the Chinese. However, while Mesopotamia is widely believed to be the earliest known civilization, some studies suggest the Indus Valley may be much older than previously thought, possibly dating back as far as 8,000 years, with farming settlements existing as early as 7,000 BC. As the Indus civilization progressed into urbanization by 2600 BC, they achieved remarkable feats of architecture and town planning. Cities like Harappa and Mohenjo-daro featured multi-storied brick houses, meticulously organized streets, and advanced drainage systems. These cities were clean and thoughtfully designed. Every house had its own toilet, bathing area, and a sewage system that rivaled modern infrastructure. The streets were lined with trees, there were public wells for clean drinking water, and even waste management systems in place, complete with designated dustbins. In many ways, their cities were perhaps more advanced than some modern urban centers today. Yet, for all their achievements, there remains a barrier to fully understanding them: their language. More than 4,000 inscriptions have been found on stone slabs, seals, copper plates, and more, but the meaning of the symbols, known as the Indus script, eludes us. Since the 1920s, over 100 attempts have been made to decode it, yet it remains one of the greatest unsolved puzzles in archaeology. What we do know is that their script was written from right to left, similar to modern-day Arabic. This conclusion was drawn from inscriptions where symbols on the left side appear more cramped, as if the engraver ran out of space, much like how we might cram our words at the end of a line when writing from left to right. Interestingly, the symbols in their script often accompanied pictures of animals, like rhinos, elephants, or bulls. But the most common animal symbol was of a creature that resembled a unicorn, an animal that might never have existed. The Indus script was not written on large stones as one might imagine. The seals were typically no larger than a few square centimeters, which adds to the intricacy of their engravings. Over time, historians identified more than 400 distinct signs in the Indus script, suggesting it was likely logosyllabic, meaning each symbol represented a word or sound, much like the Egyptian hieroglyphs, which have since been deciphered thanks to the discovery of the Rosetta Stone. Sadly, no such equivalent has been found for the Indus script, making it incredibly difficult to decode without a reference point. One of the most fascinating discoveries came when the Indus script was found not just in the ruins of the Indus Valley but in Mesopotamia, a region with its own distinct language. This implies that there were trade relations between these two great civilizations. However, the symbols found in Mesopotamia followed a slightly different pattern, hinting that the Mesopotamians may have been using the Indus script to write their own language, much like how we might write Hindi using the Latin alphabet today. Moving beyond their script, the layout of Indus Valley cities also reveals much about their way of life. Almost every city had a similar structure, an upper citadel or fort, often located on higher ground to protect against floods and wild animals, and a lower town where everyday people lived and worked. The citadel housed public spaces like marketplaces and workshops. Mohenjo-daro, one of the most famous cities of the Indus Valley, boasted the Great Bath, a massive, multi-storied pool that was waterproofed with tar and supplied with fresh water, an early example of sophisticated engineering. But unlike other civilizations of the time, such as the Egyptians and Mesopotamians, the Indus Valley has revealed no temples, no palaces, and no royal tombs. There's no evidence of kings, priests, or even a standing army, which suggests their society may have been far more egalitarian. It's a striking contrast to the hierarchical structures seen in other ancient civilizations. Could it be that the Indus Valley people lived in relative peace and equality without the need for centralized power or religious authority? And yet, despite their brilliance, the Indus Valley Civilization disappeared around 1900 BC. Over the course of a few centuries, their cities crumbled, their writing vanished, and their trade routes fell silent. What caused such a thriving civilization to fall into ruin? There are several theories, none of which have been definitively proven. One suggests that a significant river, possibly the Sarasvati, dried up due to tectonic shifts, forcing the population to migrate eastward toward the Ganges. Another theory blames deforestation, with the inhabitants cutting down too many trees for building and fuel, leading to environmental collapse. Yet another posits that a disease, perhaps malaria or cholera, wiped out the population. Regardless of the cause, by 600 BC, the civilization had vanished completely, buried beneath the earth, awaiting rediscovery. For thousands of years, the once great Indus Valley Civilization lay forgotten, until James Lewis unknowingly rediscovered it. Today, as archaeologists continue to uncover more about this mysterious society, the language of the Indus script and the reason for their decline remain unsolved puzzles. But in time, perhaps these last mysteries will be revealed, shedding new light on a civilization that was once one of the most advanced in human history. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.